What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, yesterday we did have the big Xbox game showcase, and there's actually quite a few announcements there, especially from first party, with the big one clearly being Starfield. However, we have been getting some new information since that showcase aired, and we're going to go over all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about a ridiculous rumor report for a certain remake that kind of goes in line with what Square Enix has continued to do. And we'll also be talking about a big time title coming up here very soon for the PlayStation 5 that had a big release you can start playing today. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button, helps that a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown. This is the 2D game that was shown off during Summer Game Fest. In fact, it kicked the entire show off, and I like what I was seeing there for the most part with Prince of Persia. And at this point, just having Ubisoft at least do more stuff with the Prince of Persia IP is a win, like across the board. However, as you can see, the trailer right here is getting downvoted in oblivion, pretty much. It's like 80% downvotes, and a lot of it has to do seemingly with the music, the art style, the fact really that it's 2D, which that one still throws me off a bit because I actually like seeing some of these 2D games from big publishers. But I will say it is from Ubisoft Montpellier, and they did things like Rayman Legends. So I actually have a lot of confidence behind that studio working on this Prince of Persia game, and the whole thing with the trailer and the music choice and all that, we'll probably forget about that by the time the game releases, and the art style will probably take some getting used to for people. But the fact that the studio had done Rayman Legends, I mean, this art style kind of matches up with all of that. And we have had updates on the 3D Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake. The update was it's getting fully rebooted, and we'll see you guys in a couple of years. So at least for now, it appears that the Lost Crown, the 2D Prince of Persia game, is the next one up in January. Also, we had a bit of surprising news leading up to the Devolver Digital Showcase. A certain game is getting a remaster. This is one of the titles, for example, on the Xbox that has been delisted from the store, but I believe if you have the disc, it will still work. You just have to pop that in and it'll pull it from the server on Xbox's side. And you can see some of the announcement trailer here. This is for Shadows of the Damned Remastered. It's coming from Suda51. And if you remember, it was Suda and Shinji Mikami who came together to create this title. It released back in 2011 on the Xbox 360 and the PS3. And I don't think there was a PC release for this one. So this is a game that's kind of been lost at this point in terms of its availability. Of course, you get it on the 360 or the PS3, you can play it there. But many people now clearly are playing on an Xbox Series or a PlayStation 5. And I guess Suda figured, hey, let's remaster the thing and put it out there, because it actually reviewed decent. Like, it's 77 and 80 somewhere in there on Metacritic. So it seems like a game I feel like people would get a kick of having a remaster. I didn't really get into it back in 2011 when it came out, so I wouldn't mind checking it out, and it seems like we have at least a remaster to look forward to. Oh, and while a lot of the talk, of course, has been around games, we are seeing some accessories announced sort of around the Summer Game Fest, not E3 time, and one accessory actually seems pretty interesting for the Switch. You can see some of it here with the trailer they released. This is the Nitro deck, and many people were messaging me about this, seeing if I was going to check this out, and it's basically a holder for your Switch that adds the functionality almost of like a Steam Deck. Like, it looks like a Steam Deck when you put it in there, right? And obviously it has a controller layout and back buttons and all of this. In fact, you can plug this in to the dock when your Switch is in there, and it will act as a separate controller. They have Hall effect thumbsticks, which the jury's still out on that technically, as we're seeing them go into more and more accessories. But in theory, you would expect the stick drift issue to be fixed. Remappable back buttons, full ergonomic build with low latency USB-C connection, swappable thumbsticks. It is coming in at a base price right now of $60, and they are expecting it to ship in the second or third week of September, although that appears still be kind of tentative. So I will see if I can get one of these even ahead of release so we can check it out here with a full unboxing and impressions. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Xbox Games Showcase that had roughly 26 or 27 different games there, some from third party, some from first party with updates. They even showed off new accessories, and even a new system. So a lot to go over here. Came in roughly at about an hour and 45, hour and 50 or so minutes, with a good chunk of that being all about Starfield. So let's start at the top, and they did kick things off with Fable, which I feel like surprised a lot of people to have Microsoft kick things off with this title from Playground Games, but they did it. It's in-engine. This is kind of where they try to get away with, like, oh, it's kind of gameplay, right? There were some shots, couple of seconds, where I was sort of like, that might be gameplay. Now, what's really funny is Richard Ayoade from IT Crowd was in the game. It was very interesting. Played a giant, and then you also have what appears to be one of the main characters, though, from Fable, kind of running around fighting him and stuff. Of course, this is one of the big pushes for Game Pass, and you saw that logo pop up all over the place when it was applicable, which was probably 80% of this showcase here. But a good way to start things off. I think I would have just preferred to see something that was much more obvious to be gameplay, right? And it's been 3 years, but either way, at least it made an appearance here, and we have more to go off of than just the 30-second title card CGI trailer from before. South of Midnight was then shown. This is from Compulsion Games. Third-person action adventure. Still need more information when it comes to things like gameplay shown off or stuff like that there. Ubisoft's Star Wars game finally got its reveal. It's called Outlaws. It's 2024. Gameplay will be at Ubisoft Forward, so this was more or less them buying an ad spot for the Xbox showcase, but nonetheless, at least we have an idea of what Ubisoft's doing. And I like the idea of them not trying to lean on something like lightsabers or the Force. This could give us a bit of a different story in the Star Wars universe than what we're used to. So I like the sound of that. Now, the next one came from Thunder Lotus. It's 33 player co-op. This is 33 Immortals. It looks kind of like Hades, but then you bring in 32 other people to play alongside of you. It's that could be, I'm sure, very hectic, but fun. Again, that's going to Game Pass 2024. Payday 3, very excited to see this one. I enjoyed Payday 2, but that game is feeling its age right now. September 21st, though, about 3 months from now, we can check that out, and it will be in Game Pass immediately. Another good pickup there for Microsoft. Then we had Persona 3 Reload, which did leak out early. This would have been, I think, much more impactful as a surprise, but it was still really exciting to see Persona 3 getting that full remake, and it looks good. Early 2024, yes, it will be in Game Pass day one, which should just only be more exposure for the overall Persona brand. That's good stuff. Avowed. Okay, so Avowed got a bit of a facelift here. It does not really look like how it did, and this is the pitfalls of CGI trailers. When it was first shown, it looks more, I don't want to say cartoony, but more bright, colorful, almost Fable-like at times. That one is 2024, however, and they are working to stack the 2024 lineup already because they kind of already have their 2023 figured out now. Sea of Thieves, The Legend of Monkey Island expansion, that's July 20th. Flight Simulator 2024, there's a bit more involved here. They have like search and rescue, skydiving. There's even like a Dune crossover going on here. Hellblade 2 was then shown. All right, so this is another situation where I'm not really sure why they went with this specific showing, since, once again, this is a game that we saw alongside of the Xbox Series X being revealed during that VGA show, right? Video Game Awards. And they didn't have gameplay here to show. I mean, it was in-engine once again, and they did showcase the 3D audio effects where you have whispering all around you, and it was really cool with the first one. It looks like they've taken it even to the next level up here. Visually impressive, of course. That is 2024. Wouldn't be shocked if that's like the first half of 2024 to get things moving. Was really happy to see Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth here. I guess this is this the 8th one? We're going to find out more at RGG Summit on Thursday, but we see Ichiban wash up on shore. Kind of some Austin Powers stuff where they have items kind of obscuring certain parts of him walking around on the beach there, and it looks like he's in the US. Someone said it looks like Hawaii maybe, but that's 2024, and I enjoyed Yakuza 7 or Like a Dragon, so I think I'm going to kick out of this one. It will also be an RPG. Fallout 76 Atlantic City was then shown. Then Path of the Goddess. This is from Capcom. It is going to Game Pass, and there was actual gameplay here, and I liked what I saw. I'll check out Path of the Goddess. That one looks like it could be fun. Forza Motorsport got its release date as expected, October 10th. Looks good. Looks like Forza. Turn 10. gives us some quality releases in the racing genre, so looking forward to that one. I think I will be picking up a wheel, though, finally, for a racing game, and it will be Forza Motorsport in October. Elder Scrolls Online, Necrom, that's June 20th. Overwatch 2 was here for a while. a new adventure begins, that's August 10th. Persona 5 Tactica, November 17th. Again, that was leaked out early. It was interesting they split up a lot of these Atlas reveals, because there were quite a few of them, but Tactica looks cool. I will be checking that one out as well in November. Then we had Jusant, that's fall 2023 going into Game Pass. Looked like they saw kind of some of the climbing mechanics going into a lot of these bigger games now, and they wanted to make an entire game just around that. So interesting stuff. Still Wakes the Deep, early 2024 going into Game Pass. Not really sure what we saw there, but hey, it's something. It's Game Pass 2024. Dungeons of Hinterberg, that's 2024 going into Game Pass. Cyberpunk 2077, as expected. Phantom Liberty, that's the expansion. Very large expansion, apparently. $30, September 26th. City Skylines 2, October 24th, again going into Game Pass. And we had Metaphor Re Fantasio. This is a new game from Atlas, and it's the Persona team doing it. That is coming out in 2024. I'm going to keep my eye on this one because this is a new IP, and they're kind of branching off from what they're very familiar with Persona. And I mean, if you see things like Shin Megami Tensei that then what spun off and became Persona, hey, Metaphor, almost kind of spinning off maybe even from what they've done with Persona. Definitely want to keep an eye on that one. Then we had Stoic with what basically was Project Belfry, now Towerborn. That's coming out in 2024, co-op and all of this across the board. It looks interesting. I'll check that one out. Clockwork Revolution. This is one that, as soon as it came on stream, we all kind of looked around and said, this feels like BioShock Infinite, just the tone, the art style. It's a first-person shooter from In Exile. That's an interesting one. They said it'll come at some point, basically, in due time. So we'll, again, keep an eye on Clockwork Revolution. Then we had Phil Spencer appear on screen. He says that they have significantly increased the supply of Xbox Series X systems, and just in time because Starfield coming up here in September, and the Xbox Series S is getting a new system variant, a 1 terabyte carbon black model, and that is September 21st, coming in at the price point of $350. So $50 more, you'll double the storage from that $300 base white Xbox Series S. And then we went directly into the Starfield presentation. This was like 40 minutes of showcase here for this one game, and it almost feels overwhelming how big this game is. I mean, it just kept going and going and going. There's customization everywhere, tons of exploration. The combat looks much better. There were talks that it helped out, and it kind of looks that way because the combat just appears faster and more precise, and there are even swords in the game. Now, there was one thing that I pointed out after we had seen the show and we did some of our immediate thoughts, and that's that we didn't get any kind of clarification on the frame rate for the game. Well, that did come afterwards in different interviews. We can see this over on IGN when talking with Todd Howard, who says always these huge open worlds, fully dynamic, hyper detail where anything can happen, and we do want to do that. It's 4K in the X, or on the X. It's 1440 on the S. We do lock it at 30 frames because we want that fidelity. We want all that stuff. We don't want to sacrifice any of it. Now, it does speak about the PC version being like the 60 frames at times. It sounds like this game, it's going to be quite a bit to run even for PCs. So if you're sitting at a decent card, may want to look around a bit to upgrade somewhat if you're specifically thinking about playing Starfield at 60 frames per second, or potentially turn your resolution and detail settings and stuff way down. I do think it is still a shame that we are seeing some of these games come out at 30, despite it being the marketing push as the most powerful system. However, Starfield, after seeing that presentation, I think for a lot of people, is going to be in that Zelda territory of like, yeah, but the game is genuinely impressive and interesting, and I just want to play it, and that's kind of where I am with Starfield. Again, the benefit, though, is if you have a good enough PC, you most likely will be able to play it at 60, and that's kind of what I did with Redfall at times, because it did have cross-progression. It went from Xbox to PC, and there was 60 frames, no problem there. Probably will end up doing the same thing with Starfield, but that's at least what Microsoft does. With their Xbox brand, they give you options. And overall, I thought it was a pretty good showcase for Microsoft, and I'll give my letter grade later on because that was actually the poll question, but Microsoft had to show up and talk about first-party titles of course, to finish setting up 2023, which they did with Forza, and then start getting a lot of titles prepared for 2024. Their big thing right now is they want 4 major games every single year, and it seems like they're already working that up for 2024. So I think overall, when it comes to presentations that we saw during this not E3 time period, Microsoft had the best one. Next up, let's talk about a rumor that's currently going around for a remake that we may see in about 3 years. And this one was funny because it definitely caught a lot of people's ear when you hear that Final Fantasy X could be seeing a remake from Square Enix. Remember, we're also hearing about Final Fantasy IX getting a remake. That one, though, to me seems, I'll say, a little more tangible, all right? But Final Fantasy X? Well, we'll take a look. This posted up by Twisted Voxel says, according to Reset Era member I'm a Hero 2, who has shared details regarding the development of titles from other Japanese studios in the past, Final Fantasy X is getting a remake that will release in the year 2026. And the reason for that, as they mentioned, is the game's 25th anniversary. That's right, 25 years for Final Fantasy X. That should make you feel old, especially if you remember playing that back in the day when it first dropped on the PS2 and how blown away we were by that. Now we're talking about doing a full remake for the game. And I do also want to note that I'm a Hero 2 has basically been deleted off that Reset Era forum. I don't know if they requested it because they were putting a bit too much information out there, which they have been. They basically talked about Persona 3 Remake. There's also another Persona game apparently outside the ones that we've already seen. That's like a party game. But Final Fantasy X, would we want to see it remade? Well, I mean, I like Final Fantasy X. My thing right now is I want to see what they do with Final Fantasy IX. I feel like that will at least give me an indication as to how I feel about them potentially breaking down and rebuilding Final Fantasy X. How much do they want to change? Because I don't think they're going to go the 7 route where they've basically blown the whole thing wide open and it's anyone's guess what's about to happen here with Rebirth. I feel like 9 will be much closer to the source material, which leads me to believe 10 will be as well. And if that's mostly what it is, then sure, I think 10 would be an awesome game to remake for its 25th anniversary. But again, that's 3 years in the future. Let's see what they have for us with 9 first, and then we'll kind of reconvene with Final Fantasy X in mind. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a big PlayStation 5 title you can start playing today, and that's Final Fantasy 16, because the long-awaited demo is live right now. And we have some details we can go over for it, which you can see this posted up over on Twitter. The first card here is a 2+ hour prologue gameplay demo. The save data is indeed carried over to the main game, which this really shouldn't surprise people because we've been seeing this quite a bit with Square Enix, all right, where a lot of their games that get demos, you carry the save data over. Basically a way for you to get a head start on the game itself. Now, there is another demo that you unlock once you complete the prologue. They mentioned that this is like a special battle demo, and it sounds like they're going to fast track you a bit, give you some abilities, and let you try out one of these big icon battles on screen natively. So that should be a lot of fun. We also had some other details, which includes Platinum Games being involved in the development in some way. So I'm looking forward to this one. I will be downloading it immediately as soon as it's ready to go, which technically it went live at 4 a.m. Eastern this morning. So if you're just now hearing about this, go check it out over on the PlayStation Store. It should be up for download. And I'll probably post a video either doing some gameplay, going through the demo with some of my thoughts, or maybe we'll wait for the podcast this weekend. We'll see. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday. We're asked, give the Xbox Showcase a grade. Okay, a B, 43%, A at 26%, 19% say C, 5% D, and 7% F. I don't really know how anyone gives some of these shows. I'm not really sure how people give them an F, but I'm right up there with B. I was very close to B+. I feel like if Hellblade 2 or Fable had much more obvious gameplay sections and we're like, okay, this is what the game really looks like, then I'd be more inclined to go B+, maybe even A outright. But the fact that they did kind of hype us up a bit more for like, hey, we're gonna do gameplay and in-engine stuff and you'll be able to tell, and then we start seeing stuff that just looks like cinematics, so I think it was a very good show for Microsoft, though. overall, and certainly the best one we saw this summer at this point. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Aaron, who says, on the topic of Link not really talking, Mario doesn't really talk either, except for a couple of words, but they manage that well. Nothing but confidence in them after that. Yeah, for the most part in the Mario movie, I think they did well. Limited times for him to talk, clearly, but there was a lot of concern with Chris Pratt being the voice, but I think he pulled it off pretty well for the most part as Mario. And in fact, if we have that kind of confidence, Chris Pratt should obviously voice Link and then continue to voice all the main characters going forward for Nintendo. I mean, you know, it wouldn't surprise me because Miyamoto told us he's really cool. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today was the Xbox Game Showcase. What did you think of the show overall? What were some of your favorite announcements there? And what letter grade would you give it? And then also, what about Final Fantasy X? Do you trust Square Enix to remake it well? And then Final Fantasy XVI, the demo is out today. Are you playing it? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.